Having existed since before the Norman conquest, records of Radford Semele go as far back as the Domesday Book, when it is referred to as Redford or Reedford, and when the population was thought to be about 150. Possibly going as far back as the earliest Anglo-Saxons, the area southeast of the River Avon was called Feldon. Feldon means the area from which timber has been cleared away, reflecting an area largely devoted to cereal production. The Semele family, whose family crest was 3 5-petalled flowers, were lords of the manor at the turn of the 12th century, and it is from this family that the village took its current name. They were lords of the manor from 1120 to 1308. Sometime in the early 12th century, a church, which became dedicated to St. Nicholas, and whose first clergyman was Parson William, and looking something like this, was first recorded on the site of the present one, probably during the reign of King Henry II, father of Richard the Lionheart. It was attached to Kenilworth Priory, a house of Augustinian canons founded by Geoffrey de Clinton in 1119. The Pope upgraded the priory status to that of an abbey in 1447. In the 14th century, a tower was added to the church during the reign of one of the Plantagenet kings. In the middle of the 14th century, plague ravaged the Warwickshire countryside. Between 1350 and 1400, this district saw outbreaks of plague at irregular intervals. Only the absence of documentation prevents our hazarding a guess as to the number of fatalities in Radford. But it was nothing compared to near neighbour Chesterton, where the whole village was abandoned. In the 15th century, during the last throes of the 100 Years' War in Europe, and when the Wars of the Roses rumbled on in England, almost nothing is known about St. Nicholas Church. But when Henry VIII set about the dissolution of the monasteries in 1536, Kenilworth Abbey was destroyed. The rectory and the advowson of the vicarage were included in the grant of the manor to Sir Thomas Darcy in 1546 and remained attached until the patronage was transferred in 1920. The stained glass windows in the church were particularly pleasing. Although there are some semblances of windows from the 14th century, most of the windows were created in the middle 19th and the early 20th centuries. Many people have made a record of the church over time. What follows will bring back many fond memories of the building, objects, people, events, and activities representing the life of the church. On this day, disaster struck St. Nicholas Church.
Parts of this church have been here since the Doomsday Book, but this Palm Sunday morning it looked like fire would finally lay claim to St Nicholas in Radford Semele.
Being sort of helpless, really, not being able to do anything to actually stop it is, again, fairly awful, really.
As the morning went on, the full extent of what had happened. The clock showing the moment the mechanism was destroyed, and no prospect of any services here for the foreseeable future. And for the community, fears they've lost much more than their local church.
My husband's here and I just want to come and see if the grave's all right. I'm so good in case anything's happened to that grave. It's so precious.
It looks like the main tower has been saved, but what fire crews are worried about is that gable end. It's not supported and a big gust of wind could blow it down. Plus there's so much hot, smouldering wood on the floor of the church that it could be up to 2 days before the fire service can leave. Emma North, BBC Midlands Today, Radford Semele in Warwickshire.
It's almost unbearable to see the results of what happened. The pictures heighten the sense of loss and bewilderment felt by the people throughout the village and further afield. And then the magnificent new window takes its place in the chancel. Its powerful image will impress all who see it. And the church is open for all to see the work that has been done. There is still plenty to do before the church is fully up and running. And with the work virtually complete, all those people who have made such an effort to drive this project and see it through, and all of those who contributed to the Restoration Fund, can now judge whether it's been worth it. St Nicholas is not on any list of important churches, but its recent history gives it a special place in the minds of many. This film traces its history and its place in the life of Radford Semele.